Hey everybody, can you all hear and see me okay? What's up, people in the chat? Let's see who's here. Canadummy. What's going on, Canadummy? There's Thriller James. What's good, Thriller James? And oh man, this guy. Oh shit. This dude. You better not smack talk Loch Ness or it's on. Don't worry, I'm going to give a very clear assessment. I would say it's very impartial towards the judgment of the cryptid known as the Loch Ness Monster. Is everyone here able to see and hear me okay? All right, I think we're good. Okay. Welcome to another session of Donnie Cho Says Stuff. Hey, there's Stephen Edmond. Okay, you guys can hear and see me okay. That's cool. All right. So, yes, today is a very special episode. I came back recently from the Alabama Bigfoot convention. I'm sure many of you may already be aware because those of you who follow Tex and Rob and the Blondes channels will be, you guys know that we all just came back from the Alabama Bigfoot convention and, we spent a whole weekend talking about cryptids and shit. And it was a fun time. It was an excellent experience. Got to hang out with everyone. It was pretty cool stuff. I was very happy that I had gone. And so I'm back from the convention. And also some of you guys may also be aware, I am also a big fan of Helldivers 2. I play it a lot. I enjoy that game. Hey there, Moon at Noon, Philomero. And one of the things you'll notice as a fan of Helldivers 2 is that for Helldivers, there's a big variety in like weapons and stratagems you can use. So if you ever go online on YouTube trying to look up strategies for that game, you'll see that a lot of people do a lot of tier lists. This is pretty big in the Helldivers community because there's so many weapons that come out and people like to do different tier lists for different weapons. And that got me thinking, I've never quite seen a tier list made for cryptids. And so there might be some that are out there, or there might be some podcast episodes where people have attempted to do a cryptid tier list. But I haven't seen any. So I was thinking about using this opportunity to make a tier list of our own. And this will be a cryptid tier list. Now, before we start, let me just explain this tier list real quick here for you. I have here 5 tiers. Okay, so I'm going to explain the tiers to you. So I'm not sure if you guys are able to see that clearly on a screen. I'm going to start from the second so we got 5 tiers. Okay, S tier is the top tier, then A tier, then B tier. C tier is lower than that, and finally D tier. So S tier is going to be the best cryptids, right? They're going to be the really awesome ones. And let me explain real quick about how I've decided to divvy up these tiers. Okay. So we'll start with A tier. So A tier, I would say, is going to be the cryptids that are, what we're going to judge this tier list on is not so much how realistic or whether or not I think they're true or not real, though that aspect of the cryptids doesn't matter. What I'm going to be gauging here is the overall, I guess, popularity or importance of these particular cryptids. Starting from the top S tier, those are going to be the greatest cryptids of all. Those are going to be the king of the hills, the most influential, the ones that really change our world and affect our history and or our reality. That's going to be S tier. That's going to be the cream of the crop, the greatest of the cryptids, the kings of the cryptids. Now, A tier, the second from the top, the orange color, that is going to be cryptids that I feel like are important enough to warrant their own show, or their own series. These are cryptids that are important enough to warrant their own conventions, yeah. So, for example, let's start with the standard bearers. Okay, so the first cryptid, obviously, I'm going to go with is Bigfoot. Now, I've indicated vanilla because in this cryptid tier list, there are going to be several different subgroups of Bigfoot. So, vanilla Bigfoot is just, the regular Bigfoot, right? And there's going to be other variations of Bigfoot on this tier list. But Bigfoot is the standard bearer, right? He's the main cryptid. He's got his own shows about him, shows like Sasquatch Chronicles. And Bigfoot Michigan Rob's got a whole bunch of stuff about Bigfoot. Of course, he's named after him, and his show's largely focused on this particular creature, right? The vanilla Bigfoot. And this is the standard bearer. So for vanilla Bigfoot, I am going to put at the very top of A tier. Hold on, let me. Okay, so yeah, I've got vanilla Bigfoot at top of A tier. Again, A tier is defined as cryptids that are important enough to warrant their own convention or their show based around them, right? And I think it's a very fair assessment to put the vanilla Bigfoot into that category, right? Another cryptid that I think also deserves a spot right at the top of A tier is going to be Dogman. Again, I've got vanilla Dogman because there are going to be several different variations of Dogman on this list, but the standard, I guess, the no frills, the basic version, we'll say vanilla Dogman, I will also put at the top of A tier. So that's where he goes. Okay. So we have Dogman, Vanilla, and Bigfoot Vanilla at the top of A tier. And, the tier on each individual tier, it's also going to be in order from left to right. Now, I don't know which one I want to put. Do I want to put Dogman at the top of A tier? Or do I want to put Bigfoot at the top of A tier? Honestly, this one's completely subjective. I will let you. I mean, that's up to you guys individually. I personally, because I am also the Pope of the Church of Dogman, I think I will put Dogman at the top of A tier, and then I'll put Bigfoot right behind him. But again, if you guys want to put Bigfoot at the top of A tier, I mean, that's totally up to you. I won't argue against that. That's just me personally, because I am devoted to our Lord and Savior Dogman, as of course I am the Pope of the Church of Dogman. So that's what we have, A tier. Okay. Something like B tier is, Toby, you just dropped my controller. Good job. B tier, I am going to show, okay. So we have another sub variation of Bigfoot, and this time we have Yeti. Now, B tier under A tier, I'm going to say B tier is cryptids that I would say wouldn't be worthy of having their own show or convention based around them. But maybe if you did have a cryptid show like Sasquatch Chronicles, maybe a B tier cryptid would be worthy of its own episode. All right. So, yeah, like if A tier cryptids are worthy of an entire show based around them, or perhaps a movie or documentary, a B tier cryptid would be something where it would be worthy of its own episode. Or maybe if you had like a cryptid podcast, you would have someone come on and give stories about something like Yeti, a sub variation of Bigfoot. I am going to go ahead and put Yeti at the top of B tier. B tier being defined as episode worthy. So there we have it. So far we've got we have A tier, top of A tier, we have Dogman and Bigfoot. Again, they're both at the top of that list, but I'd say that's interchangeable. B tier, we have Bigfoot, Yeti, because Yeti, you don't see too many shows that are completely based around Yeti. But again, you might do an episode. Okay, now Mothman, the West Virginia variation. Mothman, I am going to put. Mothman does get a lot of play. And you don't see too many cryptid podcasts that are solely focused on Mothman. So with Mothman, typically in this case, you might get like an episode or two mentioned of them. But the West Virginia version of the Mothman did get several books and movies made about it. And it does have like its own festival. And I do believe there was a movie based on the Mothman starring Richard Gere. And if Richard Gere does a movie about you, I believe that warrants you. It's earned its place in A tier, in my opinion. Yeah, if you got a Richard Gere movie about you, you deserve A tier. I mean, after all, the guy stuck a hamster up his ass, so that's worthy of something, right? So let's go ahead and put. Let's see. So let's go ahead and put Mothman at the top of, let's see, where's Mothman? We'll put Mothman in A tier, right behind Bigfoot and Dogman. I think we're pretty good on that one. Okay. So yeah, I'd say A tier, but maybe a little bit behind Bigfoot and Dogman because it's got its own Richard Gere movie based on, for it. And that guy did stick a gerbil up his ass. So credit where credit is due. Okay. Now, what's the next one? Okay, the next subvariation of Bigfoot, and I've put these things in alphabetical order, not to, just for to have a kind of. The ones moving from this point on are going to be in alphabetical order. So the next subvariation of Bigfoot, I'd say, is Florida skunk ape. Now, this one I'm going to put in C tier. Now, C tier I define as not worthy of its own podcast episode, but maybe a C tier cryptid is something that most people know about this cryptid, but it's not really not important enough for it to warrant its own show. Maybe a couple mentions on an episode of a podcast, or maybe a couple stories, things like that nature. And so I would put Bigfoot, the Florida skunk ape, lower. I'm going to put it in C tier because it's basically Bigfoot, but it's in Florida. So yeah, it's a Florida version of Bigfoot. That the fact that it's in Florida puts it in C tier. I'm just like, yeah, move the fuck out of Florida, dude. So this motherfucker is landing straight into C tier. Okay. So yeah, we got Florida skunk man in C tier, Yeti in B tier, Vanilla Dogman, Vanilla Bigfoot, and West Virginia Mothman we have in A tier. All right, now let's see. The Beasts of Gévaudan, a subvariation of Dogman, Le Bête du Gévaudan. Okay, so this motherfucker is I would call this the Michael Jordan of cryptids, okay? So of all the other cryptids, this one was into history books for reals, mentioned in history textbooks. This one killed a fuck ton of people, probably altered the course of French 18th century history, which may or may not have led to a course of events which ultimately brought about potentially the French Revolution. This motherfucker was influential as all hell. So it's got a confirmed body count, changed history. The King of France sicked the entire military after it. And this thing went on a fucking Godzilla style rampage. This motherfucker is landing in S tier. That's right. The Beast of Gévaudan deserves a spot at the top because he's the Michael Jordan. So bam. S tier for the Beast of Gévaudan. Okay. All right. So far so good. All right, let's see what the next one is. After the Beast of Gévaudan, we've got Faye. Vanilla Faye. This one I was a little bit torn about, guys, because you do hear a lot of mention of Faye. They don't quite get their own show, but on most of these cryptid shows, they get mentioned quite a lot. So I was kind of torn about putting Vanilla Faye at either the top of B tier or the bottom of A tier. I don't know. This one I was kind of on the fence about. Vanilla Faye. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk of Faye in these cryptid fields, but they don't have like a Faye show. But some people, they have like a whole bunch of episodes about the Faye. And there are a lot of Faye stories and Faye encounters. Should I be generous and put it in the bottom of A tier? Let's see. Yeah, I'll be nice. I'll put it behind West Virginia Mothman, bottom of A tier. I think that's a good spot for it. Okay. Now, let's see what else. The next cryptid coming up on our list. The Florida Man. Now, this one's interesting because I don't hear too many people in the cryptid community mention this particular cryptid known as the Florida Man. Florida Man actually it's a funny situation because this particular creature gets mentioned quite a lot in mainstream social media, and you'll even hear mention of it in the mainstream news, but I don't hear too many mention of it in the cryptid paranormal field. But we do know of its existence, and it does get attention. Funnily enough, it doesn't get attention out, within the cryptid field. So, I mean, you don't see too many shows based around this creature known as the Florida Man, but we do hear about what it gets into. We do also learn about a lot of experiences and encounters with the creature known as the Florida Man. So, it doesn't land in A tier for me because there aren't too many people within the serious cryptid research field that are examining the phenomenon known as the Florida Man. But I do feel like Florida Man, because of its numerous mentions in mainstream media and social media and in the news, I think deserves a solid spot in B tier. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think Florida Man goes into B tier. I'm comfortable placing Florida Man there. So this is where we have our tier list looking like so far, guys. I do like me a good Florida Man story. I do find it to be a very particular. It's a very interesting cryptid. But again, it's strange to me how people in the greater cryptid community don't mention the entity known as the Florida Man. Okay, the next cryptid on our list. Let's see. We have the Jersey Devil. Now, Jersey Devil, I do feel like there are no shows about the Jersey Devil, but there are some episodes strictly devoted to the Jersey Devil. I would know because I was, I think last year I was on I did a podcast with Jessica Jones on her channel about the Jersey Devil, where she did a remote view of the creature known as the Jersey Devil. And being from New Jersey, I know all about this creature. So I do think it's a legitimate cryptid that deserves a place on this list. But because I don't see too many episodes or too many shows strictly on the Jersey Devil, I think this creature deserves a solid spot in B tier. Maybe, let's see here. Jersey Devil, where are you? So, yeah, I'm going to put Jersey Devil in B tier. Do I want to put Jersey Devil? Okay, I'll put Jersey Devil behind Yeti. I'd say they're top of B tier, episode worthy. Do I want to put it ahead of the Florida Man? Yeah, let's go ahead and put it in front of Florida Man. So Florida Man is ranked a little bit lower on the B tier next to Jersey Devil, but I think that's a good spot for it. Okay. So the next cryptid on our list is the Goat Man. Now, for those of you who are unaware, my friend Jason's got a book, Metroplex Monsters, and in it he mentions the Goat Man, and there have been numerous Goat Man sightings throughout the state of Texas. The Goat Man is another cryptid that there, every now and then on a cryptid podcast, you will see people mention their encounter stories of Goat Man. And it's right up there with Dog Man and Bigfoot sightings. There are Goat Man sightings as well. And for those of you who would like to learn more about Goatman sightings, I recommend checking out Jason's book, Metroplex Monsters. He's got a few very interesting Goatman encounter stories there as well. So every now and then you will hear accounts and eyewitness testimony of the Goatman creature. And so this is another one where I don't think it quite earns a place on A tier. But I think it's a solid choice for B tier. Now let's see. Do I want to put Goatman? No, I'm gonna keep Florida Man ahead of Goatman, and behind the Jersey Devil, and then Yeti at the top of B tier. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Okay. Now what do we have after Goatman? Okay, this is another subvariation of Hellhounds or Dogman Hellhounds. Okay, so Hellhounds. While I do believe the stories, and again mentioning my friend Jason, he has a pretty gnarly Hellhound story that he told me, and there are Hellhound sighting cases in Skinwalker Ranch. But for my money, I'm going to put Hellhounds in D tier, the bottom tier. D tier is like the dog shit tier, the wiggity wackest, fucking bullshit ass, shitty ass cryptids, the fucking scrubs of the scrubs. Not because I don't believe in the Hellhound stories, but here's why. Okay, here's my rationale. So Hellhounds are a subvariation of Dogman, except the only difference is that Hellhounds are basically dogmen that walk on all fours. All fours. Really? So basically, hellhounds are dogmans, which normally walk on twos, but they walk on fours. So, okay. So it's a lazy fucking dogman. Okay. So it's like a scrubbier version dogman. A hellhound is a dogman that's too fucking lazy to stand upright. So that's a lazy fucking dollar store version of Dogman. No, fuck hellhounds. No, they go to the bottom of the list because they're a bunch of lazy ass fucking scrubs. So you go to the D tier, the wiggity whack dog shit tier. Fuck hellhounds. They need to learn to walk like a normal ass dog man. Fuck those things. So yes, we have hellhounds bottom of D tier. Fucking scrubs. Okay. All right. Now, next cryptid on the list. We've got the Loch Ness Monster, which I like to call the Gary Coleman of cryptids. Okay. This particular cryptid sucks balls. It at one point in the 80s and early 90s was probably the headline main cryptid. All right. In all the books about cryptids, Loch Ness Monster was on the cover. But then as the 90s ended and we went into the 2000s, it became very apparent that the two cryptids that took over the scene were the top of our A list, Bigfoot and Dogman. You know why? Because Loch Ness Monster didn't do shit, okay? It just swam around like a fucking seal, maybe ate some fish, barely being sighted, people lost interest. And finally, you had things like the Florida Man taking over. I mean, this thing let the Florida Man take its spot. I mean, this thing sucks. So all I gotta say is fuck the Loch Ness monster. You deserve to be at the very bottom of the dung heap in D tier. That's where your scrubby ass goes. You piece of shit cryptid. Fucking worthless fucking turd. Loch Ness monster sucks dick. So there it is, guys. But at the very bottom of our list, we got Loch Ness monster. Fuck Loch Ness monster, yo. For reals. That thing sucks. Okay. So what's our next? Man, that thing sucks. Gary Coleman of cryptids, yo. Okay, so we've got our next sub variation of Fae. We've got mermaids. Now, mermaids, I would definitely rank lower than vanilla Fae. They're basically Fae, but in the water. And I've heard a few cryptid channels mention mermaids, and for the most part, I think it's a little embarrassing, guys. You know, you're a bunch of grown ass adults talking about mermaids. And yes, I have heard the accounts from the Inuit peoples, according to their folklore and some of their own personal testimonies. There is a fey mermaid type creature that has been known to abduct children. I'm not saying I'm unaware of those accounts. And there is talk of fey mermaids. I'm tempted to put them in D tier because I remember one time I was listening to a podcast. It's shall remain nameless, but one day I was listening to it and my brother walked in and he saw me watching that and he was like, "Yo, what are you watching?" And I was like, "It's a cryptid show." And he was like, "But they're talking about mermaids? People think mermaids are real?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "That's fucking stupid, yo. These are grown ass adults." And I was very embarrassed. And because of that embarrassment, I've decided I'm not going to put Faye in D tier. Or the mermaids in D tier. I was quite tempted, but I'm just going to go ahead and put them at the bottom of C tier, where they're worthy of mention or reference, but not really worthy of their own episode. So we'll go ahead and keep the mermaids in C tier. So there they go. So right next to Florida Skunk Ape goes the mermaids, on top of hellhounds and that shitty ass Loch Ness monster. So there you have it. Jason, are you butthurt because your homie Loch Ness monster is at the bottom of D tier? All I gotta say is fuck Loch Ness monster, yo. That thing sucks. Okay, so for our next cryptid, we have the Mokili Membi. Everyone loves dinosaur stories. And no, Loch Ness Monster is not a dinosaur. Loch Ness Monster is a floating turd. It's a turd with flippers and a long neck. But here we have a legit dinosaur sightings in the Congo. We've heard of these creatures. You don't hear too much mention of them in a lot of these cryptid podcasts, but we all kind of know about them. I haven't heard too many episodes devoted to them, although I do think that they are probably worthy of a cryptid episode down the line. It's just that I haven't seen too many shows try to address the topic of Mokili Membi. But I think they're cool. This one I'm thinking about putting, let's see. I'm thinking the bottom of B tier or the top of C tier. What do you guys think? Let's go ahead. You know what? No, I'm going to go ahead and put Mokili Membi bottom of B tier. Do I really want to put it at the bottom of B tier? Let's see. So I've got on B tier, I've got Yeti, then Jersey Devil, then Florida Man, then Goat Man, and then Mokili Membi. Do I want to keep Goat Man ahead of Mokili Membi? Yeah, I feel good about that. Not quite C tier, but I wouldn't put it ahead of Goatman. I feel like Goatman's getting more play these days in the cryptid world. Okay, now we've got a sub variation of the Mothman, the West Virginia version. We've got the Chicago Mothman. Now, Chicago Mothman is more of a recent phenomenon. As you guys may be aware, there have been Mothman sightings, not just in the Point Pleasant area, but now we've had Mothman sightings in other locations, primarily in Chicago. And there have been more and more accounts coming out of Chicago of sightings of this creature. Now, because this is more of a newer phenomena, and because it didn't get a movie about Richard Gere made about it, or with Richard Gere made about it, I'm not comfortable putting Chicago Mothman in the same category as West Virginia Mothman, which was an A tier, right behind Bigfoot and Dogman. But I think Chicago Mothman, I say, would go somewhere in the middle of B tier. Let's see. I will put it. No, you know what? I am going to put it behind Yeti, but ahead of the Jersey Devil. That's a good spot for the Chicago Mothman. And I think actually the Chicago Mothman. So I think the Chicago Mothman has the potential to climb up higher in the tier list. But it's simply because it's so much newer. I think there are more and more stories coming out. I do feel as more stories come out about the Chicago Mothman, it has the potential to climb up to possibly even A tier. I wonder if you guys agree. Oh, wait, hold on. Jason saying Chicago Mothman is D tier. I mean, that's a bit harsh, man. To put it in the same trash bin as Hellhounds, Lazy Ass Dogman, and the utter piece of garbage known as the Loch Ness Monster, to put it in that category, I think would be a bit harsh. Maybe if you wanted to be a little rough, maybe C tier with Florida Skunk Ape and Mermaids. I don't know, man, because I feel like there's more and more stories coming out about Chicago Mothman. Do you guys in the chat have any opinions of where do you? Because I'm kind of on the fence about this one. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? I mean, yeah, I'm gonna keep it at B tier for now. All right, let's see the next one. Nephilim. Okay, so the Bible thumpers in the cryptid community, they love this one, right? Whenever you got a cryptid nerd who's also a Bible thumper, they love talking about that. They love that Nephilim action. So Nephilim does get a whole bunch of mention, even though you have a podcast that is primarily focused on Vanilla Dogman or Vanilla Bigfoot. People love their Nephilim stories, especially like the Bible thumpers who like to drop random ass Bible verses into chats. They love talking about that Nephilim stuff. Oh, and by the way, I say Bible thumper with, term of endearment. Okay, I'm not trying to diss on Christians. I'm dissing on people who drop Bible verses like they're like this holy ass motherfucker. When at the end of the day, all they were showing off is the fact that they know how to use Google. Okay, those to me are the Bible thumpers, not to be equated with like the true, Christians who are actually like sincere and devout in their practices and their beliefs. No, I'm talking about people who like to show off in the chat how holy they are, and then they'll drop Bible verses and they'll talk about like some Nephilim stuff. So Nephilim does get a whole bunch of mention and a whole bunch of thought and a whole bunch of discussion, even in shows that are not strictly about the Nephilim. So I am going to put I think Nephilim deserves to be an A tier. In fact, I will put Nephilim ahead of Mothman, but behind Vanilla Bigfoot and Dogman. I think Nephilim deserves that spot. Okay. So we've got, so we've on top of A tier, we've got interchangeable Vanilla Dogman, Vanilla Bigfoot. Then we got some Nephilim action. Then we got Mothman and then Fae. I think that's good. I think that's fair. Okay, so What's the next one? Oh, this particular cryptid. Now, this particular cryptid, this one I'm a little bit skeptical about the existence of these creatures. I have heard rumors of their existence, and especially when I hear encounters with these creatures known as Nickelback fans. I've had some close friends tell me in private, personally, that they have had encounters with such creatures, and I mean, I want to believe them, but there's a part of me that's having a real hard time believing in their existence. I've heard rumors that creatures such as these might be out there. I've had people like Tex and Ra tell me in earnest, like, I've, that they've had personal encounters. But again, I just have a real hard time. I guess it's the skeptical side of me. I just have a hard time believing that such creatures exist. Um, so I'm going to put these. I think this particular cryptid deserves a spot bottom of C tier behind mermaids. I think that's a good spot for them. I don't hear too much mention of them in the cryptid community, but I have heard rumors that these creatures might actually exist. So I'll put them in C tier. Jason claims to be one. Okay, Jason. Okay, if you're gonna say that you're a Nickelback fan, then yeah, I'm a gray alien. Okay, we're gonna go there. Oh yeah, well, I am the Pope of the Church of Dogman. So, according to people like Jason, these creatures exist. I mean, if you guys want to believe that they're out there, that's cool. I mean, I'm open minded to a degree, but again, I'm having a hard time believing in the existence of this particular cryptid. I mean, the sighting stories are there. Rumors of their existence are out there, and there are people purporting to have had encounters with these creatures. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. Okay, what's the next cryptid we have on our list? Oh, the knot deer. This is a new one. This one's been coming out. I guess this one's more recent. Like when I first got into the paranormal cryptid community, I never really heard of them until recently, where suddenly people were telling stories about knot deer, and they're claiming that these weird deer that they don't act right and they are kind of off, and apparently there are more and more stories and encounters coming out about knot deer. Nothing quite worthy of its own episode, I would say. Um, I would say Not Deer, I think, has the potential to climb in the tier list. But because it's so new and because of so far there's not that much mention of Not Deer, I am going to put them in C tier behind Florida Skunk Ape, but ahead of Mermaids. I don't know. Do I want to put them ahead of Mermaids? I'm thinking maybe I should put Mermaids for. Well, the Inuit stories are kind of cool. Maybe I'll put the Mermaids ahead of Not Deer. Yeah, I'll put Not Deer behind Mermaids, but ahead of Nickelback fans. I think that's a good spot for Not Deer. Okay. So, what is our next cryptid on the list? Pterosaurs. Now, this one's a shout out to my homie Jason McLean, pterosaur encounterer extraordinaire. Pterosaurs. There have been some pretty. I have heard personally some pretty amazing pterosaur sightings and encounter stories. I don't think their existence is particularly earth-shattering compared to something like a Nephilim, or I mean, I'd say if if we got Mokili Membi and Goatman in B tier, I think Pterosaur is a solid choice for B tier. As a matter of fact, as a shout out to my homie Jason, I am going to put Pterosaurs Let's see. B tier, behind Yeti, but ahead of Chicago Mothman. Solid place in B tier. I think that's a good choice for pterosaur. Okay, let's see what our next cryptid is. Okay, so our next cryptid we have is the rake. We have heard numerous rake stories. I have heard stories on numerous podcasts about people who have had encounters with these creatures known as rakes. And I know you guys have heard these rake stories. And frankly, the rake encounter stories, I would say, are the most terrifying. The stories of people being chased by rakes, I do find to be legitimately scary. And I'm sure you guys have heard them too. And I know that rakes are a more recent cryptid phenomenon of these creatures being encountered in the woods, in and some even go as far as telling accounts of these rakes following people home and messing with them. And a lot of what I hear in these stories is quite sinister. And I do know that when people tell their rake encounter stories, everyone in the chats are pretty much enthralled, because these stories, I do feel like, are probably some of the scariest cryptid stories that you'll ever come across. Now, I know there aren't any shows specifically devoted to rakes, but I do know that there have been numerous episodes where there would be an eyewitness encounter calling in and sharing their story of their encounter with these rake creatures. And I do find them to be legitimately scary. So for that reason, I do believe that rakes deserve to be in a solid B tier. I'm going to put them behind pterosaurs. Yeah, third place, upper part. They're going to be in the upper part of B tier for me. They don't have their own show, but the encounter stories I hear about rakes are some of the most terrifying stories you'll hear in the cryptid community. And don't worry, guys. I'll do a recap of the tier list once I'm done. Okay, so for the next one, this one I had a particular hard time with. The next cryptid on our list is going to be reptilians. Frankly, I think reptilian stories don't get enough mention as they probably deserve. I do know that there were more talk about reptilians, especially because I think reptilians are particularly interesting, because if the implications of the existence of these creatures are true, that there are these cryptids that are masquerading as some of our political and economic leaders, and that are secretly kind of directing the course of our society with their human disguises. I think that is a very terrifying thing, and the implications to what it means for us, to us in our lives, and what the implications for what it means for our overall society could be very profound. And I do believe that they deserve more mention in the cryptid conversations, because we really need to know if there are these creatures that are pretending to be humans and that are secretly running shit in our politics and in our society. So for that reason, I do want to consider reptilians high on our list. Now, I am aware that reptilians don't have their own shows based around them, but I do feel like they deserve their own shows. Now, I got the Beast of Jevudon as S tier, and because it had, even though you don't hear it mentioned on too many shows, it did kill a whole bunch of people. It was confirmed, and it did have major impacts in our society and our history. So part of me is tempted to put reptilians up in S tier, but I'm also thinking, but then I don't know if I want to put reptilians. I don't think it's fair to put reptilians ahead of Bigfoot and Dogman. So I think just because of that, I feel like Beast of Jevudon deserves to be ahead of Vanilla Dogman because of what Beast of Jevudon did in history. Reptilians, I feel like should be right up there with Nephilim. I'm going to put reptilians in A tier right behind Nephilim. I think that's a good place to put them. What do you guys think, guys? Yeah, I think that's a solid choice. Okay, next one is skinwalkers. Now, people love a good skinwalker story. They're scary because people, Native American people in the community don't even want to mention them by name. I might be getting myself in trouble just by mentioning them, but there are a lot of mention of skinwalkers. They don't have their own show, but they do have their own History Channel show called the Skinwalker Ranch Show. So I feel like because of History Channel, they move from B tier to A tier. And thanks to History Channel, because we all know that cable is above YouTube in terms of cryptid content. I am going to, because of the History Channel show, the Mystery of Skinwalker Ranch or whatever it's called, I do believe that skinwalkers have earned their place up in A tier. Let's put them behind. And they also do get quite a bit of mention in the cryptid communities. So let's go ahead and put them behind reptilians, but ahead of Mothman. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good spot. Okay. Now let's see. What is our next? Okay, so we're almost done here. We got a few more. Megalodon. Now I do love me a good Megalodon story. Um, I love those Megalodon rumors and like those stories where people are like, "Whoa, this one creature just they did a sonar thing and it got jacked and they think it was a Megalodon." And then there was that one I guess video uh clip of that one giant ass shark next to that cage and no one could figure out what it was, but it was just huge. And people think that that was a Megalodon. And I think Megalodon stories are pretty cool, although I'm not quite sure if it's true that megalodons are real. I'm pretty certain that they're extinct, but um, I think the stories are cool. So I am going to put megalodon. I'm thinking megalodon stories. I'm going to put them around bottom of B tier next to Mokili Membi. I think that's a good spot for megalodons. Okay. Yeah, I think that one's good. All right. So, what's our next cryptid? Let's see. Okay. The next cryptid is the Elvis. Now, I may be biased because I am also the president and the founding member of the North American Elvis Project. As an Elvis experiencer myself, I know for a fact that the cryptid known as the Elvis is real, and it is out there. And yeah, some people might accuse me of being biased as the president of the North American Elvis Project, but I do feel like it is my personal conviction to open up the newest branch of cryptozoological research and study, the the new branch of cryptozoology known as the Elvis experiencers, because there have been a number of people who have had experiences with the Elvis whose voices have been kept down by the Bigfoot nerds and the Dogman nerds who don't want to be associated with them because they're bullies. But as the president of the North American Elvis Project, I am going to offer to you, if you're an experiencer yourself of the cryptid known as the Elvis, if you've had an eyewitness encounter, please come forth. Please make yourself known. Please get in touch. Because we here at the North American Elvis Project, we are an open platform and forum for you to feel comfortable enough to share your experiences without the judgmental attitudes of these Bigfoot and Dogman nerds. Please come forward. You will not be judged. And I do believe that the Elvis is perhaps the king of all of the cryptids, the greatest of them all. So therefore, the Elvis, I am going to put right at the top in S tier, the super awesome tier, because it is the greatest of all the cryptids. It is the king of all cryptids. Um, do I want to put the Elvis ahead of the Beast of Gévaudan? Le Bête du Gévaudan? Do I get? Yeah, let's put it at the top. That is the king of all the cryptids, after all, folks. The Elvis. Yeah, and as the president and a founding member, and as an experiencer myself of the North American Elvis Project, if you've had an encounter, or if you believe you've had an encounter with the Elvis, please get in touch. Don't, feel comfortable. Know that you will not be judged. You have a home here with us at the North American Elvis Project. So we got, okay. Stop trying to keep our voices down, Jason McLean. No. The Elvis experiencers, it's time for their voices to be heard, folks. Okay. Okay, we've got one left. And this one we've got is called the Chupacabra, or what I like to call Mexican Dogman. So basically, the Chupacabra is the Dogman, but the Mexican version of that. So I feel like the Chupacabra has fallen off a bit. It was talked about more often, but I feel like as time has progressed, it's become less and less popular to talk about. I guess people aren't taking it as seriously enough. So the reputation of the Chupacabra, i.e., Mexican Dogman, has declined somewhat. So therefore, I would have said that it was B tier, but I feel like now it's dropped to C tier. Not quite D tier, dog shit level D tier. That's reserved for hellhounds, lazy bitches, and Loch Ness Monster, the Gary Coleman of cryptids. It's not that bad, but because of its decline and because it's fallen off, and no, it's nothing to do with it being Mexican, okay? Nothing but love for my Mexican homies out there. Nothing to do with it being Mexican. It's just that Chupacabra, I guess, it's kind of fallen off. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that it only seems to suck the blood of like goats or whatever. So it's not as crazy as like an LBL Vanilla Dog Man. So I am going to put Mexican Dog Man. We'll put that at a solid C tier. Behind, not deer, but ahead of Nickelback fans. Okay, I think that's a good place for them. All right. So let us recap. Okay, so to summarize, let's go in order now of our tier list. This is the final tier list. Okay, so at the very top of the tier list, the king of the tiers, S tier, the super awesome tier, the world-changing, earth-shattering ones. Number one, we have the Elvis, the greatest of all cryptids. And number two, we have Le Bête du Gévaudan, the Beast of Gévaudan, because of its body count and what it did, getting its whole military sacked on it. Top of A tier, interchangeable, we have Vanilla Dogman, and then we have Vanilla Bigfoot. We are followed by, on A tier, right after that, we've got Nephilim. Right, third place on A tier. And then right behind them, we've got reptilians. Right behind Nephilim on A tier, because they are getting a lot of mention and probably deserve more attention. Actually, part of me was that I was most tempted to put reptilians up in S tier just because of the implications of their existence. Right behind reptilians in A tier, we got skinwalkers, followed by West Virginia Mothman. And then right there on, and then last but not least on A tier, we've got Vanilla Fae. At the top of B tier, we've got Yeti, Bigfoot. And then we've got pterosaurs. Also near the top of B tier, we've got Rake Encounters. And then we've got Chicago Mothman. Also on A tier, we also have the Jersey Devil, followed by Florida Man, followed by Goatman Encounter Stories. And, pick up Jason's book, Metroplex Monsters. You'll see he's got a few Goatman Encounter Stories in there as well. And then we've got Mokili Membi near the bottom of B tier, and then followed by Megalodon. Okay. And then C tier, we have Florida Skunk Ape. It's down in C tier because it's from Florida. So it's like a shittier Bigfoot. We've got mermaids, fae, subcategory of fae. We've got water fae, otherwise known as mermaids. Then followed by not deer in C tier. And then we've got chupacabras, aka Mexican Dogman. And then we've got at the bottom of C tier Nickelback fans, which this one I'm the most skeptical about their existence. I hear rumors that these creatures exist, but I have a hard time believing, guys. I really do. Okay, and at the very bottom, the shitty tier, the crappy wiggity whack dog shit tier, we've got hellhounds because they're too lazy to walk on two legs, so they're like shitty dogman. They're dogman that walk on four legs, so they're just fucked up dogs. And then at the very bottom of the list, the shittiest cryptid of them all, the crappiest of the crap, the Gary Coleman of cryptids, the scrubbiest of the scrubs, we have Loch Ness Monster. The fuck Ness Monster, that's what I call it, because it sucks. Okay, so that is going to be the cryptid tier list. Now, I'm sure there are some other cryptids that I've left out. I forgot to include Wendigo. I was going to include that one, but I forgot. And there may be some other cryptids. I'm sure you guys can think of other cryptids that were left out. If there are other cryptids that I've left out, feel free to let me know in the chat or in the comments. And if you want to share where you think those cryptids lie, give me your tier ranking of where that cryptid could be. Also, if there are some cryptid rankings that you might disagree with, let me know. If you think a different cryptid on this list deserves to be put in a different tier, yeah, let me know in the comments and tell me why. Please share, because again, this is all subjective. This is just my opinion. So yeah, at the end of the day, the moral of the story is that the greatest of all cryptids, the king of them all, is the Elvis, and the shittiest of them all is the fuck Ness Monster. In that regard, I am convinced. That is my personal, conviction there. So, yeah, there's my cryptid tier list. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh, wow, that was almost exactly an hour. Pretty cool. All right, but yeah, feel free to share your opinions and thoughts in the comments. If you want to make your own cryptid tier list, be welcome to. Feel free. And also, guys out there, if you've had an encounter with the Elvis, the king of all cryptids, please reach out to the North American Elvis Project, where we will welcome you with open arms. Also, Loch Ness Monster can suck a dick. Okay, peace out, folks. Have a good one. Bye.